The room had a strange frozen quality to it. What the room held did not readily explain it. There was a desk and 2 chairs and 3 bookshelves that rose high and disappeared into gloom. A fabulously diverse array of books filled the shelves, but their colors seemed faded, like they were replicas made from a vintage photograph. Perhaps that was it. Or perhaps it was the fact that through the half-hearted bars of light that crisscrossed the grays of the room, particles of dust seemed to hang still, as if suspended in place by an invisible hand. Or perhaps it was the fact that the pile of papers on the desk lay preternaturally still, and not the slightest breeze stirred the air. It was as if the room was a snapshot, paused in time. The illusion was only partially broken when the door creaked open and a man walked in. He was of the sort you would uncharitably call average. He was not too tall, not too fat, not too handsome. His mannerisms were of a man used to being inconspicuous. An easy and understated gait, not so stiff and upright as to draw admiration, not so slouched and sneaky as to draw suspicion, brought him to the chair in front of the desk. Even his breathing seemed to be tuned to the height of docility, a gentle, barely visible rise and fall. A pair of spectacles lay perched on his nose. His hair was neatly and carefully parted to one side and set with water. The man seemed confused. He alternated between eagle-eyed restlessness and glassy-eyed languor. He slumped in the chair hopelessly, but only for a brief while. Then he got up and paced between the 2 bookshelves that lay perpendicular to the desk. Sepia beams of light carved patterns across his clothes as he moved. He sat down again, and then he stood up again. Walking over to one of the bookshelves he made as if to pick up one of the colorless tomes. But before he did so, his eyes glazed over as if he had forgotten what he had set out to do, and he went back to slump in the chair. Something seemed to strike him while sitting in the chair. His body quieted its restless stirrings. The trembling foot stilled, the tapping fingers froze, and he didn't blink. He seemed to be mumbling something. Wasn't there a cat? But the respite was only temporary, as the fidgeting renewed once more. He stood, he paced, he slumped, he straightened, he scanned the bookshelves and repeated everything ad nauseum until the man and his clockwork ticks were one with the timeless quality of the room. An unknown period of time passed, the door once more creaked open, and another man walked in. Perhaps it was the contrast with the man already in the room that accentuated it. But this was a man who oozed masculinity. Broad shoulders and barrel chest strained against the seams of his sharp business suit. Angular features were brought into severe relief by the uneven lighting in the room. He was tall, his hair was fashionably clipped, yet roguishly long, and he smelled like musk. His eyes, though, were gentle, and his face stretched into a beatific smile when the first man turned around to take in the second. "Welcome," said the second man as he walked towards the other chair with brisk, powerful strides. The first man didn't react. If the second man's appearance had startled him, his cheerful greeting seemed to have struck him senseless. The second man continued smiling for so long that it began to look strained. The first man continued to look bewildered. "How do you feel today?" The second man murmured gently. I don't seem to remember how I got here." The first man stuttered, as if surprised to discover he had a voice. The sentence rose and fell in sync with the man's wavering confusion.